Final hour OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. It's an Edmonton Oilers spin on our best bets. Little tease. Oilers in action tonight. And they got themselves a win the other night, but man, has it been a soap opera out there for what was a team that everyone conceded was a lock playoff team. And then from there, there's a variation.
How much damage could they do?
Exactly. There's one person would say, I think they win a cup. The next will say, I don't think they will. But no one at any point suggested anything but 100 points in the playoffs. And it's do they have home ice or not? Do they play LA? Do they play Vegas?
Or they win division.
Or do they win the division?
Yeah,
exactly. All that kind of stuff. And the same thing here in Toronto. The same thing with the Leafs. Are they going to win the division? What happens? And yet, the Oilers are 13 games into their season, and they've had a coach fired, and Jack Campbell's playing in the American Hockey League, and Connor McDavid is speaking with the media every day, and he just looks miserable.
He should be.
He looks miserable.
He should be. But
yes, and Draisaitl looks miserable, sounds miserable.
Yeah.
And
they haven't played well.
No, they haven't played well.
I thought that outdoor game was going to be joke's over, nothing to see here.
I agree.
And it's they won, they beat Calgary,
But
their cross-province rival, and it's see you later, the trouble's behind us. And then it went more
the
sideways.
thing is there's this layer of and this isn't just reserved for Edmonton or Toronto or all of these top-tier teams. There's this layer of okay, this aura around them. But other teams are allowed to play hard against them. You can't just snap your fingers and go, okay, we're the Edmonton Oilers. The people picked us to be in the Cup final, so give us the 2 points tonight. You got to go out and work for it. And those teams that are playing them, if I'm playing against Connor McDavid that night, that is my your whole focus is try and shut that guy down. If not, he'll embarrass you.
Noodles, but they had that in their mind. McDavid put everybody on notice to get there 2 weeks early.
I get that.
Because it's no joke, and we're going to prep, and we're all business. And then they drop the puck, and it's a mess. So I don't know what went wrong from all business, captain skate, to the drop of the puck.
Well, it looked good the other night in Seattle. They didn't even need a point from Draisaitl and McDavid, and They held the other team. They held Seattle to, I want to say 20 shots or 25. It was low and not a lot of chances. And they, Hyman gets the hat trick. They looked a lot more like a hardworking, no nonsense team. Mm-hmm. But you still have the coaching change. What's he gonna? It's an 8:30 game tonight. It's a 6:30 local in Edmonton. Let's see. And the Islanders aren't just going to show up and go, okay, well, here's 2 points.
No, now the Islanders are not. They're not playing well. They've lost 4 in a row. They're 5-5-3, not a ton of firepower on that team.
They're not a team to sleep on.
Yeah.
I told you before the show, this goalie is, if that goalie's not the best goalie in the league, he's one of them.
Right. Sorokin is.
The Oilers might have to put 55 shots up on this guy tonight to try and beat them. I'm not lying.
Yeah, and I would expect a big response out of McDavid and Draisaitl in particular. All these moves are trying to get the most out of their prime.
Right.
Because this is. Now you're looking at a scenario here where if it gets wasted, it's probably considered the biggest waste in NHL history.
Of a season?
No, I mean an era, right? If you don't get a cup out of McDavid and Draisaitl both on your team for 11 years, that's tough to explain. That's Gretzky, Messier, Sid, Gino, Taves and Kane, Ovechkin and Backstrom. You look at the great duos of all time.
Well, it's not going to be tough to explain because the fan base knows why they didn't or why it didn't happen. It'll be just a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm driving at. And I understand there's 32 teams, not 21 or 6 or whatever. Right. And there's a salary cap and COVID happened and all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is these 2 guys are going to be on the same team for at least 10 years. They both had 3 years of entry level. They both signed 8-year deals. And McDavid got here a year after Draisaitl. That's 10 years of Draisaitl and McDavid. And
they've had some. They've gone. What was the deepest?
They got to a conference final last year.
Yeah.
But
now you got to.
But it's the old. If I had told you that 6 years ago that these 2 guys would be locked in, they'll be 2 of the best players in the world, and you don't get it done. it'll be a massively missed opportunity.
I'll never forget my dad telling me when I was a kid, when it was an Oiler Cup with Gretzky, and my dad said sometimes when you have the best player, not sometimes, when you have the best player in the world, you're going to have a good chance to win the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, Mario, Sid, Taze and Kane, I mean, Doughty and Kopitar, like just all the greatest players, sometimes you usually get a sniff, and it's a real good one.
Well, that I guess is what I'm driving at here, is that what they are risking here, and what McDavid's risking, let's clarify this, his legacy here is being the first, like, clear-cut, indisputable best player in the world for an extended period of time not having a cup. Because Sid was that guy, and if it wasn't Sid, it was Ovi. They both have cups. Mario was the one before that. Gretzky was the one before that. Probably Bobby Orr was the one before. Like, there's very few guys we're talking about. Like, if you're going to be one of the 10 greatest players of all time, and McDavid is going to be that,
gotta win.
You've got to win. Like, you have to have it. And again, it's Kris Knoblauch's job, in conjunction with the rest of the staff, management, ownership, McDavid, his teammates, to get this back on the rails. And if it's not going to be this year, you still have him under contract for another 2 years. Is it 2 years after this? Like, he's not going anywhere in Edmonton. But that is what McDavid and his legacy are risking here. And that's what has to be rectified. And there's a lot of turnover. Like, this is fifth coach since he's been there. He's been there 8+ years. He's going to have 5 coaches.
Yeah.
It's a lot of turnover. And
that's crazy in itself. 5 coaches for the best player in the world.
Yeah. 5 coaches.
Well, it usually happens through a rebuild where you have multiple. I think the other thing you can look at is these are bold moves. These are ballsy moves. Because we talked about Vegas went from Gerard Gallant to Peter DeBoer to Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah. 3
awesome coaches that most teams would take all 3 of those guys, in essence. You have to, I don't want dysfunction, but you got to be bold in these moves. These are bold. I don't know if they'll work out, but they're bold moves where some other organizations just stick with it. Others are like, to hell with this. We're moving on. Doesn't matter what it costs. Sounds like the owner there is like on that side. Whatever. Moving on, pay people, move on. That's it.
Yeah, I don't
know if it'll work.
We don't know if it'll work. You mentioned Vegas, though. Vegas is a good example of it working. Where Vegas, they are hyper-aggressive. And I believe that starts with the owner, where there's a mandate ever since they arrived that if there's someone that is better by a centimeter, get him. Fire that
Rangers,
guy.
Same thing.
Yes. And yet there's another side of it where stability can go a long way.
Right.
John Cooper's been in Tampa a long time. Mike Sullivan's been in Pittsburgh a long time. Their core pieces have been there a long time.
Yep.
And they've won too. So, there are those are the 2 ways to look at it. You're either doing it not out of dysfunction. Here's the difference between Vegas and Edmonton, or Vegas and really anyone else. Vegas wasn't doing it because they were dysfunctional. They were doing it because they were almost, again, hyper-aggressive,
hyper-focused,
almost to the point of like psychotically obsessed with winning, where it's like, we love you, but you have to go.
Yeah.
Flower, we love you, you're out. This guy's in. Whoever it is, James Neal, after a year, it's like, hey, you just drove us to the Cup. You were the guy. You're leaving. Go sign in Calgary or Edmonton or whatever it was. Where that's different. Where in Edmonton, it's like, man, we're panicking. We got to change.
Yeah.
Man, this isn't good. We're embarrassing ourselves. We got to change. So I don't even think you could use the Vegas comparison because Vegas is so unique. Vegas
they won. They won. It worked out.
Vegas won, but they made it to the Cup final their first year in existence.
Right.
Like, ever since year 1, they've been like, if you don't fit,
they missed
the
playoffs 1 year, but there was change after the 1 year.
Absolutely, there was change.
Like, that's
and there was an explanation for that. You remember any injuries they had?
Yeah, but they've been in the league 6 years. This is year 7, right?
Yeah.
They've had 3 coaches already and won a cup.
And guess what? Bruce Cassidy probably understands if it goes south for him, he's out.
No kidding. All those moves, it worked. They won the Stanley Cup. If it didn't, we'd be saying, man, those guys were crazy and reckless.
Yeah.
But now
giving up draft picks, signing this guy. We'd be ripping them. Them saying that's reckless behavior.
Yeah. But it is a different mentality and it's a different approach because they are not loyal to anybody, but for the right reasons. They're not loyal because they want to win the next game. They don't care that you won them the last one.
Yeah.
So Riley Smith, thanks for everything. You're out.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's, hey, Pacioretty, you came here and signed. We don't care. You're leaving now.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
It's wild how they operate. And I have great appreciation for it because it's not out of desperation. It's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength.
Just basically, that's how they roll.
That's how they operate.
Yeah.
We're going to win. And it's great if you're a part of it because you're probably going to be set up to win in Vegas.
Would you think that single owners have the ability to do it a lot more than multiple owners or boards or corporations?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I probably, and that's why the scene in Toronto is interesting, right? Which leads us to what we've been asking online. Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza's new square footer pizzas. BP is reinventing the wheel with our 3 new square footer pizzas, an entire square foot of more cheese, crunch, and taste. These new pizzas are an absolute must-try at your local BP tonight. With the turning over of coaches in this country and the league in general, does it change the way you look at Sheldon Keefe and his security here in town? Which he is not. It's not like Sheldon's been here for 15 years. Right?
Change how we look at him.
Well, in terms of the fact that they keep sticking with him, right? Because I think a lot of people thought he was going to go after last year.
New manager, right?
New manager came in, but they lost again in the playoffs. They went down in kind of poor fashion against Florida. And I think what has come out of it is the messaging is pretty clear. And I would guess this goes to the top, and I guess it's Brendan Shanahan that would direct this, that stability, they have faith in stability. They have faith that it's going to work. And Sheldon Keefe's won a lot of games during the regular season, more than anyone in terms of winning percentage.
And the mandate, that's what was surprising to me is after 2 or 3 cracks at it and you don't even, like you won 1 round and all the cracks, it's like, that's the only reason I thought there would be something different. I like Kiefer. I think he's a good coach. They do rack up a lot of regular season wins. But it's the same thing. It's like, is it the players? Is it the coach? You want, what is the word you use? They like what?
Stability.
Stability, I guess, familiarity. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's the same result. So how do you like it that much?
Well, and that would challenge that theory, right? But their belief is the Leafs, and again, we don't have the answer on whether or not it's going to pay off in the end. But I think during the regular season, Sheldon Keefe has proven he's a good coach.
Yeah. And,
stability in terms of trusting your process. I guess that's what I got back to what I was talking about earlier this afternoon is the desperation. A lot of times it's in Canadian markets. And I think it's driven home by the owners. They're so desperate to sell tickets and to sell out and get attention and have the media on board and so worried that players are going to leave or they're going to be perceived as a bad market or a bad place to play. They make all these rash decisions. And they fire guys like Jay Woodcroft, who's won a lot of games. But it's like, you got to go. You embarrassed us. You lost to San Jose. You're out. It's like, okay, well, if that's how you run your operation, that can cause a lot of problems.
Well,
like if you're reacting all the time,
it causes instability.
It causes a lot of instability.
And you're right. When Schauger was on, that's why I was like, I think this goes higher. This is the owner who's saying, I demand a standard, I demand this and that. It's his toy, it's his money, and doesn't matter how he spends it. Doesn't like what he sees, somebody gets in his ear or whatever, or his opinion, move on. That's it. And as a president, as a general manager, whoever is in place at that time, their job is to execute what the owner wants. You hear stories out of Edmonton. I don't know if they're true or not. Online stuff they wanted Ryan Murray, the scouts, and it was Yakupov that the owner wanted.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not. Again, that's online conjecture, so I shouldn't be spouting it. But if those are the types of cases, it's like, okay, you got to execute what this guy who's writing my check or signing my check, this is what he wants.
Well, and that's what it screams of in Edmonton is that the owner, understandably, is like, I need McDavid here, and I need Draisaitl here. They sell tickets, jerseys, they're superstars. We need them here. So what are we going to do? Bring in Jeff Jackson, who is qualified. Like, I like Jeff a lot. Jeff was a player who's an assistant GM here, who's an agent. It's not that he isn't a smart guy. And it's so early in his reign. There's no data on what Jeff Jackson's going to do.
I don't think any one of them at the start of this season, 3 weeks ago. Or is it a month now? Is the season started a month ago now?
Yeah, a month ago, yeah.
A month ago, Jeff Jackson envisioned any of this.
No. So
nobody did.
This is learning on the job, though.
This is trial by fire. Right
trial
here.
by fire. So Jackson's there. Now Kris Knoblauch's there, who was McDavid's coach in Erie in the OHL, which I just can't get over.
It seems kind of goofy to even hear you say that, man.
Yeah.
It's like, you're bringing in his... I had to Google the guy. I'm not going to lie.
I could understand if the guy was coaching in Erie right now. The guy's actually made his way up the pro ranks.
I get it, but Noodles, I'd never heard of the guy, which doesn't mean squat. He might be an unbelievable coach. I'm just saying I legit had to Google the guy. I never heard of him.
Here's what I would ask. Okay, let's say McDavid played his whole career in Sudbury in the OHL. Right. Do you think Kris Knoblauch's here?
No. I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
Unless there's a relationship.
He's moved on from Erie.
The only difference is right. Jeff Jackson has had a relationship with the coach for many years.
And he
so this is his guy.
Yes.
So, I understand that. But, it's not like he got plucked. He was driving on the bus last night in Erie, and they're like, hey, you know what? You want to coach this team?
Yeah.
The guy is...
He's removed from the OHL.
He is on many short lists for NHL coaches.
Okay.
He happened to be fast-tracked on this situation because of the ties to Jeff Jackson and McDavid.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. You can't change my mind on that.
No.
You're right. It's not just
not a coincidence.
No, there's a history between Jeff Jackson and him and Connor McDavid. The line goes back to Erie. There's no doubt about it. But is he an upcoming coach? By all accounts, yes. Mm-hmm. I know who he was, obviously covering games and all of that, seeing him in Philly. But, I think there's a lot of willing or capable coaches that probably would have been ahead of him.
Yes, I think I think that's safe to say. Good for him, and it's a great opportunity.
Right.
He gets to go coach in Edmonton, where they've hit rock bottom. There's only up.
Yeah.
And you got McDavid and Draisaitl.
It's a dream scenario for
Chuck Knoblauch. Joe from the Bridge wrote too. It's kind of funny. Dubas and the Sioux connection. You're right. Like every player, every coach, everything that came from the Sioux.
Yeah. Anyone that played in Erie from the years like 2013 to 2017.
We should go back and look at the roster now to see who's, potentially. You're right. It's a good point from Joe from the Bridge. I forgot about the Sioux connection.
That was getting silly at the end. There were anyone that played in Sault Ste. Marie.
Didn't Muzzin play for the Sioux too?
Muzzin
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bunting. Jack Campbell.
Wayne Simmons at one point, I believe.
Holy, Keefe, obviously. And,
Sheldon.
Yeah. But that's, you trust what you know.
Matt Murray.
Matt Murray was, that's right.
Matt Murray was in
just as soon as Noodles says you trust what you know, you blurted out the name Matt Murray.
You trust who you know, though. That's the thing. These are the relationships that are built.
No, I get it, Noodles, but anyone with a different opinion would say, it's great to have everybody from a certain situation. Well, it's not like any of the organizations you're talking about, both Erie and the Sioux, won 4 championships in a row where everyone needs a piece of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one thing about familiarity, but let's talk about results.
Did he win, though?
He hasn't won any. He won in the OHL.
Yeah.
But his American Hockey League record's 500.
Yeah.
That's another thing. It's it's not like this guy's got a 750 win percentage in the
won in the OHL?
The Erie Otters.
Yeah, they won.
They won after McDavid left.
He did.
That's
Knoblauch
right. McDavid went to the finals against Oshawa and
lost to DJ Smith.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Junior's
a totally different world.
It's such a drop down.
Yeah.
It is. It's kids. It's 16 to 19-year-old kids.
Well, that's why I'd love to get some true serum out of McDavid if what he's thinking other players on his team are thinking.
Right.
Is there an element of embarrassment for him where he's like, man, this is just my junior coach is now coming in. My agent already runs the show. Right. Now my junior coach. If you're a grizzled vet, if you're like, what's next? We get it. McDavid's great and he's a captain and all that, but
I find it to be crazy to think that that Jax was his agent and none of the players would have any knowledge of this. I find that somewhat surprising. When you have a player-agent relationship, you don't think there would have been a convo saying, hey, we're making a change. Keep it under your hat, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's different from asking them if they should make a change. right? Like I used the Rory McIlroy Live Golf comparison off the air. Remember, we were up at Oakdale, Canadian Open week.
Right.
The news broke, 2:00, Live and PGA, and Rory came out. He's like, I had no idea. And everyone's like, really, Rory?
Yeah.
Really?
You're telling me you and Tiger Woods had no idea?
Really? Like, that doesn't mean you drove the conversation, but really? You didn't know? And it's the same kind of thing here. Like,
I
doesn't mean he made the call or anything, but did he wake up to a text like everyone else? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, either
doesn't
way,
matter
this
anyway.
guy's got to play
It's over.
well.
Yeah,
That's
doesn't
what,
matter.
really
I
what
said it
is.
100 times. Jay Monahan, there's no way he would have pulled that unless he talked to Rory McIlroy or Tiger Woods. No way in hell.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Apparently, Tiger's at PGA headquarters today working on something's going on. Old Tiger.
What do you mean?
What, in the simulator or what?
No, there's like, I guess they're having, because the whole like Live Golf, like PIF deal or whatever, that's not finalized. Like they're still working some details out, and I've seen some reporting suggesting that's going to fall apart. And if it does, then you're possibly dealing with chaos again.
Well, wasn't it? It was supposed to take some time to get through all the lawyers and all of that, and the money being invested from like Saudi into the U.S. Like there was a lot of like red tape that had to be sorted out.
Yes,
wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to continue here.
Yeah.
The Raptors are playing tonight. OG Anunoby is out. Lacerated finger from doing chores around his house yesterday.
That's a tough report.
Yes.
Like just say he cut his finger or just say like injury.
What happened here? Yeah.
Let's get him on the Jiffy app immediately.
That's what needs to happen. What are you doing chores around the house for? That's where the Jiffy app exists. Any small job or emergency around the house.
Your next read better involve OG.
I will. I was talking to OG Anunoby. I said, don't waste time on Facebook.
Do you wish you had the Jiffy app? Yes, I do wish I had the Jiffy app.
Guarantee you he did. What's he doing around the house? Cutting his finger. Like, what is he doing?
I don't know. Is it changing a light bulb and it gets caught?
I don't know. But it's a lacerated finger to
cutting
the
up
point where
vegetables.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, it's one thing if you're cooking, but that's not a chore. Like, cooking's not considered a chore.
Like, what is a chore? Cleaning?
Yeah,
taking garbage out?
I would think so.
The chores I did as a kid is take the garbage out,
That's right.
you clean your room, you do all of these things.
I'd be so mad at a teammate if it was like a core guy and a guy. Because the core players, it's like, you know you're going to be there and ready for a game. And if a guy just did something, or guy didn't feel well, I'm not playing. It's just, that would drive me nuts.
They're verbata.
It must be a serious cut. Because, like, you could still play. Like a lacerate, like how deep is this? Like how many stitches are we talking here?
I cut myself the other day just gently on an Amazon box, opening the box, run your finger under it.
So you're a game time decision for OverDrive the other day?
Well, I would have. I was hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. If
Maybe that's what happened to OG.
Amazon box?
Possibly.
I don't know. It just... The reporting of it, I love the transparency, but I don't like it.
No,
it's a bad look.
Yeah, but it also makes I want to know more. Desperately want to know more.
How much does he make?
He's making a lot of money, and he's in a contract year. He's played great. They need him. They're coming off a loss. They got smoked the other night. Washington, you got to beat this team at home tonight. You have to
hire somebody to do your chores.
Yeah, Washington's maybe the worst team in the league.
Well, there you go. They need him.
Yeah. Well, maybe they don't. Partially why he might not be playing.
Dude, don't even say that with that Raps team. This is a game that they'll lose. Remember Portland a couple weeks ago?
Yep. The exact same situation. Monday night. That was Portland on a Monday, I believe. Same thing. They lost. Pillar to post, too. They were never even in that game. Not good. All right.
No.
Luke Willson coming up. Timo and Wilson with the pick tonight. The Bills are up to -7.5 on FanDuel. So we'll catch up with Luke at his take on yesterday's action. Get the pick for Timo and Wilson tonight. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Later in the hour, OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Bills Denver tonight, Monday Night Football. Luke Willson in studio. The pro athlete salute.
Let's go, Monday Nighter.
Let's go.
Yeah, you guys are on the clock.
Big night, Hayes.
I thought he was mad at you. That's why he had his back towards you.
Let's be honest. The season almost ended this weekend for you.
You know it. You know it.
I got so lucky Zach Wilson jammed us up.
Yeah.
in the push by the Lions, and I said it. I knew the Lions would push. I said it on here.
Yeah.
Okay, they had no business pushing that game. If it wasn't for those two things right now, we're looking at a potential double-digit lead coming into
Valid. That said, we had to pick the Ravens again, amateur hour. This is an entertainment show. That should never have been on the docket.
What I say, okay. Dog, I knew he'd mess that up. This guy takes a 6.5-point favorite in a divisional game.
They were up 14 in the fourth quarter at home.
They get the best. The Browns get the best defense in the NFL.
Doesn't matter. They hung 30 on them. It had nothing to do with defense. Yes, Myles Garrett made impacts. Cleveland made impact, in terms of their defensive play, but they hung 30 on them.
I will say you both sound like dummies that are it's gambling.
You
sound like dummies in their garage drinking cold beers right now.
Sickening.
We got very fortunate in the Frankfurt game. I mean,
yes,
even on Friday when we talked about it, I was like, you're like, why are you picking the Colts? I'm like, I don't have a reason. And the Colts had no business winning that game.
Dude, what is that mess going on there? That's that New England team. What are they going to do, bro?
I don't know. And what's strange is that, again, it's so weird for me to see these Bill Belichick teams make this many mistakes. Like, he's been known for over a decade of this details, X's and O situation guy. Like, we're going to play situational football. Teams are going to beat themselves. And everything he's ever stood for, the team is doing the opposite. And the Mac Jones throw or the pick to Gesicki was one of the worst throws I've seen in a very, very long time.
That was actually comical. How bad that was. And did he think he was pressured? I couldn't understand that.
Worse than Zappy's.
It was worse. Zappy's wasn't great, but it was worse than Zappy's.
The fake spike pick is
that was ugly. Is that one of the worst you've ever seen?
It's up there. So we'll go
the fake spike pick.
So here's
is wild.
Where that is even stranger is the fake. We'll start with the fake spike pick. Is generally every team had that.
Joe, you have to get this for me by the end of the show. Yeah. I need to see
the fake spike pick. Dude,
but you throw a fade. The idea of it is that you catch the corner snoozing, you get maybe a quick step on the guy, and you throw a go ball. You don't throw you think the entire defense and you throw it right in the middle of the field? That's not a thing.
7 yards into quadruple coverage. He had his brain seized. He went with the spike and he was convinced the whole place was spike.
Yeah.
And then they just caught the ball and they're like, did you just fake spike and throw the game away?
Yeah.
But the fact that Zappy was in there says something about how they feel about Mac Jones, because you don't see a guy get benched on a 2-minute drill.
No, and
ever.
That was again, you go to that whole situation. I understand Mac Jones just probably threw the worst interception I've ever seen.
Awful.
But where my head goes is, and I think this got answered, is Bailey Zappi, who's barely played ever, let alone this season, not even being considered in the game, a better option for you to operate the 2-minute drill to potentially win the game than Mac Jones? Again, not saying Mac Jones is a great guy you want there either, but I don't think Bailey Zappi gives you a better shot. Mm-hmm. But again, back to the Mac Jones pick, you've got Gesicki, who's 6'5", 6'6", and a great runner. Even if you have pressure, lob that bad boy up, let him run under it. He's behind the defense. The only place you can't miss is short. Mm-hmm. And this man missed short by probably a good 9 yards. Which was outrageous.
Two of the worst back-to-back picks ever.
The coach has got to go, what the hell are you doing? Is that a video? Did they pull him aside in the next day? Is there any type of, when you have a rough game, what's the protocol from the coaching staff? Did they let it breathe for a day or two and then you go over it in video?
I think it depends who you are and the situation. I did see a great clip, and I think they knew it was happening because Belichick was standing in front of it, but Bill O'Brien was on the sideline screaming at Mac Jones.
I saw that.
And again, I've been on some teams where football is a very complicated game at times, but there's also times where offensive coordinators will literally design things up and say, hey, we're going to motion this player. If somebody travels with him, it means X, usually man coverage. So you're going to pick between the right side, the A or B, X or Y, bam. If he doesn't travel, we're going to go left side. We're going to go Y or F. That's it. We're taking all decisions out of your hand. You have to look at something and make one decision. and I've seen numerous guys go out and still mess that up.
That flight home has got to be just
Brutal.
so miserable.
Brutal.
You mentioned Bill Belichick.
Let's just show
on
this.
That.
Let's just show the visual of the zappy.
We have this. Okay, no, that's not it. That is it. That is it. But it wasn't the spike. See if you can rewind it a little bit further, Joe, from the bridge, because it's a fake. Oh, there it is. Look at how, like, for starters, he overdid the spike. No one lifts their arm up for a spike.
Correct. And
right? You just quickly spike it.
Exactly. And you don't really need to even spike it as long as everyone's, like, sitting around.
Look at his face.
He wants to, like, look at how, like, that is such an aggressive fake spike and right into quadruple coverage.
Yeah.
Game over.
And short.
Coverage.
Yes.
Like,
just horrendous. Like,
and a win for Timo and Wilson.
And a win for Timo and Wilson.
The look on Belichick's face is disgusting. He's disgusting.
Look at how
so mad.
ridiculous that fake
Such
spike is.
Bad
What a
football.
throw. What a throw.
Fake spike pick. Like, that sums up their whole season.
Yeah.
A fake spike pick because Bailey Zappi was in the game over Mac Jones. Because Jones had thrown maybe a worse pick.
I think Jones
the drive
is worse.
before that. It's pathetic.
I mean, you've got the game one.
Yes.
Dude is wide open, and he missed by a good. I mean, it was so short that the defender almost couldn't catch it.
Yes.
Who was, again, completely burned.
It was outrageous. All right, Bills, Denver tonight. The spread is up to -7.5.
That's
Buffalo
that's so
favored.
bunk. The half is so trash.
Before we get to your pick, this is obviously a must-win for the Bills.
Must win. They got a gauntlet coming up. I understand Denver's won 2 in a row. They're looking better. But the Bills, it's a must-win game for this team. They do not want to roll into this gauntlet with an L against the Denver Broncos in the way their offense is currently playing. Like, it's a must-win, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to. And yet they've had a number of these games where you felt like they were going to blow the doors off the opponent, and it hasn't happened. Yeah, the Giants they barely beat. Tampa
Bay came down.
Tampa came down.
Now they played well in that first half, but it came down to the Hail Mary. They let them right back in the game.
Same thing. Both those were primetime games in Buffalo against inferior teams.
I mean, I think he's playing a little trick on us right now, O-Dog, but I see where you're going.
Listen, for me, this feels like a layup. I don't know where you guys are at, but
I want to make the pick tonight.
You want to make the pick? You want me to make the pick?
You know what? Why don't we just make the pick together? We'll do it
simultaneously. 3, 2, 1, and then you guys can go.
Perfect.
Give us the 3, 2, 1.
Okay, we ready here? Here's the pick of the night. Timo and Wilson. 3, 2, 1.
Hayes is a fraud. He is not an athlete.
He is crumbling under the pressure.
He wants to be us. He will never be us. Owen Wilson for life.
We pick the Bills.
I love being on the Broncos.
Is a fraud.
I love the Broncos tonight. I'd put a little sprinkle on the Broncos on the money line tonight.
Dude,
I'll tell you what.
They had their Super Bowl.
No, they
beat
didn't.
Kansas City.
You know why? You know why I say that? You know why I say that? Because I goofed on this guy a lot during the offseason and early in the year. But Sean Payton's a really good coach, and a team like this.
Now you like this guy?
Listen, he's a great coach, though. He is a very good coach.
I'll give him that. But you've been crapping on him all year.
And he's deserved it because he talked a big game and he embarrassed himself. They lost 70-20 in Miami. That's the biggest embarrassment of the year.
Yes.
As bad as the fake spike pick was, that was worse down in South Beach. But Sean Payton coming off a bye, where I think this team, Denver, is actually they're going to keep playing for him, and I think they're going to get better in the second half. I think Denver shows up to play tonight off a bye and off a win.
I think they show up to play, but the reality here is that Buffalo is, like we talked about, in desperation mode. And Buffalo's defense has not played poorly. I think for once we're actually going to see Buffalo play 60 minutes because they need to get back on track. Fundamentally, if we're making picks here, you take Denver to cover the spread. But if you're looking at the intangibles of the game of football, they figured out there's too much talent on the offensive side of the Buffalo Bills for them not to come out here and dominate tonight. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They have weapons. Kincaid's look good. Khalil Shakir's came on. Obviously, Diggs, one of the best players. They just need to not turn the ball over, which is a big if. But I like our pick. And the reality of the situation is it's a huge swing for our little rivalry we've got going on right now because right now, we win this bad boy. We're +2 in the weekend back to +7.
Yeah.
We don't.
That's
it's
troublesome.
+5 and we split on the weekend.
Right. This is a big one tonight.
It's a big win.
It's a swing game tonight.
Swing game.
We'll see how it unfolds.
And here's my question, Noodles. Is it when the Bills cover? Will Hayes and Co. be able to ever recover?
Will he answer your FaceTime? Is there a FaceTime tonight or no?
There's a FaceTime.
There could be. Yeah, and we'll see how
There's
that
a
goes.
FaceTime. If there's like 2 touchdowns in a row for the Bills, there's a FaceTime coming.
If we get to plus 10 in the next couple weeks, will you wave the white flag? We need a new game.
No, listen.
No, plus 10, dude. We start over.
No, dude. We pick 5 or 6 games a week. Like a 10-pack is not difficult to make up.
For you, it is.
It will. Listen, you know how I am. Second half adjustments. I'm already moving in that direction. I went 1-1-1 this week.
That's not good.
It's not bad. I got squeezed on the Ravens were the right pick. Good process. 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Every other book on earth had Panthers plus 3.5, except for the book we were using for some reason. So that should not have been a push. That should have been an outright win. Process, right pick. It's all good. I'm not worried about this. We got a lot of season left. It's week 10. There's 18 weeks in the season.
But we're again, last week was a fluke. We're always going to be above 500. You know that. So you're going to have to go undefeated.
We just
plan on doing that.
Away.
I plan on doing that.
And what I get, I do find interesting is that I'm getting a sense that because you're such an underdog, that the people and the listeners are actually pulling for you.
A
lot of support.
They're galvanized. There is a lot of support. The thing is
the dynasty.
It's attitude, too. That's what it is. There's a lot of people that are on.
I saw some guy chirping you on the weekend. He was like, Jacksonville pick, Hayes, please explain yourself.
I saw that one stung. Actually, you know what? When I was at the Leaf game, I couldn't understand what the guy was saying. There was a guy, like we were seated right on the aisle, and there was a guy that you have to stand up, let people in, and this was in the third period, so he had probably been drinking. And all I heard, I couldn't hear what he said because it was loud in there, and he looked at me and said, the only thing I could pick up was Owen Wilson. That's what he said. He said something Owen Wilson. And I think he might have said big fan of Owen Wilson or something like that. I'm like, all right, pal, get the hell out of here. But
I'm on Team Owen Wilson.
I think he said something like that. I was like, oh,
whoever that guy is,
he
I
was
respect
so happy
him.
with himself, too. He was like smiling all the way down. I'm like, all right, thank you. See you
get
later.
the most random comments.
Yeah.
I was at Long Goes yesterday, and I'm walking out, and I my bag unfolded, so some stuff fell on the floor. A guy walked by, and he's like, "You doing the show from home tomorrow or whatever it was?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be in studio." And he said, "I grew up with Jeff O'Neill. I went to high school with Jeff O'Neill." I'm like, "Oh, good." He goes, "I swear on my life." He goes, he called me a knob once. And I was like, and I go, well, I go, I'm sure he's called us all a knob once. Yeah. I didn't even know what to expect. Like, that was his thing. He told me, he goes, "Yeah, he called me a knob once." I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to be like, were you to him? Like, what happened? Like, what, what?
Big
you don't just
but
call
Noodles, you know how many stories I've heard where it's like, oh yeah, I went to high school, and then you look into it, and it's like, it's not even a truth.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just thought it was funny because that was the only thing that he was like to me. Yeah, called me a knob, and I was like, okay, well, that's a high school saying.
Yeah,
like because we all used to say it back in the day. But it's just like, I wanted to be like, well, what's the backstory to it? Like, did you guys have like a fight after school or whatever? But I was with my son, and he was like walking through the parking lot. It was just a funny transaction.
Yeah.
Like, that was his story for me. It was like, the guy called me a knob. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if you want to hang your hat on that.
You never know what people are going to say. Like,
I thought it was awesome. I laughed out loud. I was driving in the car, laughing out loud, going like, that was.
Yeah.
But the word knob is pretty funny.
It's a good one.
Too. Like, it's old.
We got to
school.
bring that back into rotation.
So
maybe Travis Kelce will. He's wearing the Vanilla Ice gear.
What is going on?
He goes.
Can you define, like?
Can you speak to this guy's fashion? You were a tight end.
I was. Don't put me in that. It's very strange. And again, my thought process on this is, if he's 22, 23, like coming out of college, there's a lot. Like, I remember being that age. Obviously he's getting a lot of success. Boom. Like, yeah, there's people like, wear this clothes, do this, do that. I could see him getting swayed a little bit. Me and Kelce came in the same draft year.
Yeah.
Like, he's 33 years old.
Yeah.
And there was kind of a time in my career where it's like, okay, I've got to grow up here. I'm no longer 23 and fresh out of college just wearing outrageous things. And, when you're in your early 30s, pushing mid-30s, the bedazzled outfits, I know they're designer, are a little aggressive.
Bedazzled.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's tough to talk trash on the guy. I mean,
hey, listen, he's living a great life right now.
Yeah, but
he's living a great life. And if those are his styles, those are his styles. It just, I don't know.
Do you think do you think his teammates, which I'm sure they're happy for him because he seems like he's happy, but like this guy's traveling the world.
Yes.
Like they're in Europe now. He was in Argentina. Like,
yes.
Do you think that? Is he all in? Is he dialed in? Like, I guarantee you his teammates are like, this guy's only 95% there.
Yeah. Like, for me, if I was on the team, that thought would be there. I mean, he's producing. But where I get very, very nervous is that if he goes, the offense is in shambles. Like, they don't have a very good or consistent number 2 receiver.
Right.
And Noodles, like, I just said he's 33. He takes a million hits. It's the injuries. It's like, man, we got a shot here to go back-to-back, something that hardly anyone's ever done.
Right.
And this dude's flying all over the place. You guys know flights on the body are not easy. And when you're 33 and getting 15 targets a game, you're getting banged up. And even for him, he's not, even when he's not getting tackled, they're jamming him at the line. People are always going to be hitting him.
Right.
So that would be lingering in the back of my head. Like, I understand you have the world's most famous pop star as your girlfriend, but can you shut it down for 14 more weeks? Because when that Super Bowl ends, it's free time now. I mean, I remember my first offseason, because in college you got to go back to school. Pete came in, we'd won the Super Bowl. He's like, we got the parade on Wednesday. We did the Monday, we did our physicals, exit, and it was like, see y'all in April. And I'm like, man, I got mid-February to April off. Nothing to do.
Yeah.
You got all the time in the world to travel. So that is, it does not sit great with me. But again, he is a GOAT, so I guess he can do whatever he wants.
Well, he's got a chance to do. I mean, Kansas City, with what's going on in the AFC right now, Cincinnati lost. The Bills are 5-4. The Chargers lost again. Who are they competing with right now? C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans?
Yeah. They're going to be fine.
It seems like Kansas City's in a pretty good place.
Agreed. And that's why I think that the AFC is open. I don't think there's been one team you can put the stamp on that says these are the guys to beat. And you look at Kansas City, they're definitely in the conversation. I still think, I know Miami hasn't beat any quote-unquote good teams, but I still think Miami's right there. Cincinnati, Baltimore, all these teams have a shot.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Timo and Wilson, you guys are on the
nervous?
Bills. No, not at all. 7.5. I love that half point.
Big number.
Bills by a touchdown tonight.
Oh, dog, I'm not going to lie to you. We get this bad boy tonight, and we will not slow down. 10 by next weekend, 13 the following, until this man raises the white flag. I don't just want to win.
I
don't just want to win. I'd like you to quit.
Never going to happen. Never going to happen.
We want to win by 15.
Yeah, 15's a good number.
Not going to happen.
What's this? We should do that. We should bet on the spread of how many we win.
Go ahead. Put a line together. Get FanDuel to put a line together. Because you know how I operate. I am a second half.
We're in the second half.
Yeah, just getting started, man. It's the first.
Saying that for 4 weeks, man.
I'm picking winners. B, I got a winning record on the season. It's not like I'm getting smoked here, and I'm right behind you. You guys are going to butcher this pick tonight. I'll be 5 back with 7 weeks to go. That's going to be like 35 games, more than that. By the time you get to the end of the season, there's multiple games on Saturday. The end of the year, there's going to be 8-game weekends. I go 8-0, week 18, it is over.
Can you imagine?
That's exactly what I intend on happening.
Honestly, that thought of that keeps me up at night. Thought of that keeps me up at night.
I can't wait for week 18. I can't wait for week 18. All right, Luke. Good luck tonight.
Appreciate that.
Luke Willson, Timo and Wilson on the Bills, -7.5 tonight. We'll come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. We'll do that next. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel. We're looking at a parlay tonight. Connor McDavid, anytime goal. He's got to score tonight. Right?
Yeah.
He's got to score. He hasn't, what has it been, 8 games since he scored his last goal? He scores tonight, and I got the Oilers money line. That's paying plus money. So McDavid anytime goal, Oilers money line. You got to pay some juice on the money line, so parlay it with a McDavid goal. I wouldn't be shocked if McDavid scored, Draisaitl scored tonight.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean,
I get it. Sorokin's playing. The Islanders have lost 4 in a row, too. They're not going to be happy.
No.
They are not
Do
going to be
you
happy.
think, Hayes, that Connor McDavid leads the league in scoring this year?
Yes, I still think he will.
So do I.
I thought about that this morning. I thought about that this morning, too. They've got 70 games left, right? Or 69?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If he averages 1.75 points a game or whatever he's been doing lately, like that's
he's more
still
than
puts him at
capable of a big
$1.25.
heater.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know, I don't think we're far off from adjusting that. Like, we might be 10 more games of him being slow, and then it just becomes an off year where he'll still be in contention. Like, wouldn't the shock of all shocks be this guy doesn't hit 100 points? Like, if he had a 97-point season, it would be shocking.
But if he, I would say at some point
plays,
an injury, if an injury is involved. But
I know, but
it's the last couple, he's actually looked like the more Connor. Like the San Jose game, I thought he was flying. So
well, we'll see. Today's best bet's powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in a same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly, 19+, physically located in Ontario. So you got that in action tonight. The Raptors in action tonight, Monday Nighter tonight. It's going to be a fun one. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Let's get it done, Chuck Knoblauch, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.